Hello and welcome to Swipe. Coming up, the appy couple, how smartphone apps are helping parents get through pregnancy. Available for one day only, Google Glass goes on sale, but do people really want it? Drop it like it's hot, rapper Snoop Dogg moves into gaming. And it's all kicking off in this week's Games Review with our sports special. Having a baby has to be one of the most stressful things a couple can go through. But take a look at the app charts and you'd be forgiven for thinking the solution to a stress-free pregnancy could be in your pocket. Some of the biggest selling smartphone downloads have been designed to help expectant parents. Sky's Katie Spencer has been exploring the boom in baby-making apps.
With baby Isabel just 3 weeks old, there aren't many opportunities for mum Lauren to sit down and enjoy a bit of quiet time.
It's a whole new experience, it's a whole new thing that you've never done before and no one can really prepare you for when your baby arrives.
So like an increasing number of expectant parents, blogger Lauren sought out a little help online. Isabel's journey into the world was supported by a number of smartphone and iPad apps.
She said, "How regular are contractions?" And I picked up my phone and she went, "Ah, you've got an app." It was good to be able to show the midwife, this is how regular my contractions are, and they're like, right, we need to get you to the delivery room then.
In the last few years, there's been a boom in baby apps designed to give advice and support to expectant mums and dads. With the maternity market worth billions, it's become a lucrative area that developers are keen to tap into. Apps like Pregnancy Plus help the user track their pregnancy in greater detail. With a kick counter and contraction timer, little is left to chance. While most are aimed at women, there's now even a concerted effort to cater for the men, with apps like Who's Your Daddy?
We wrote the app in a humorous way, like this is not to replace doctors or midwives or partners. I mean, a lot of the advice in the app is talk to people who've had babies.
Tracking apps can even be used with fetal monitors to listen to the baby's heartbeat in the home.
Today's technology can enable you to access new information that you couldn't access before without going to, let's say, to a care provider's office.
The download figures may speak for themselves, but critics argue that some smartphone apps can want to be a little too involved.
You can record absolutely everything about your baby if you want to, so when they're feeding, sleeping, pooing, taking pictures of everything, all the different memories. It's possible to go completely overboard, I think.
While having an app that can keep track of the more special moments during a pregnancy is clearly part of the appeal, taking the time to enjoy the experience of becoming a new mum or dad can sometimes mean putting the smartphone away. Katie Spencer, Sky News.
You're watching Swipe. Coming up, he's one of America's most wanted men, but Dotcom wants to move into politics. But first, Google Glass has been around for a while, but we couldn't go out and buy a pair until now. This week, the tech giant held a special one-day sale in the States where stocks quickly ran out. But can Google really justify the £900 price tag? Sky's Greg Milan went to meet Glass user Bethany Simpson to find out.
Okay, it's a game-changing device, but it's not a groundbreaking device. And so, I don't know, the people who have it, have it. You know, if there are people who are real technologists who want to get in and get hands-on with it, you know, and they've been saving up their pennies and they actually want to spend the full $1,500. I mean, today is the day, you know, I hope you've done it. But there's not nearly as much chatter as I thought. But they're so weird to wear. The public has not accepted them. Obviously, we've heard all of the stories come out of San Francisco, you know, where they're snatched off of faces and things like that. It's just a bizarre device. I mean, I have my hair covering most of the battery pack, so this is as unobtrusive as any user will ever have it. And I'm a friendly-looking blonde female, so I have very positive interactions about glass, but I never wear it in public because people don't know quite what to do with it. It's so much fun to see what people are doing with it. I love seeing in medical, you know, across, you know, police and emergency. It's great for travel, it's great for tourism, it's fascinating. It's just not sticky yet. It's a great device. I love it. I utterly geek out on it. It's in no way worth $1,500 unless you're making a specific investment. But then again, like if you were to ask me, is it worth, should somebody go out and buy it today? If you are truly a geek from the inside who just wants to be hands-on with something that is brand new, that nobody's ever really touched before, one of the first 10 to 15,000, sure. You know, if you've been saving your pennies and you just want to get in, Yes, it is geeky fun. It is fascinating. There are more updates and more apps coming every day. For those guys, yeah, it's right. You know, that's why I wanted to get in. I couldn't not be a first Google user. But if you're a consumer, if you're at all on the fence, it's not worth it at all. And I say wait and hope that they bring the price point down by at least $1,000, and then you can play with the idea then.
You're watching Swipe. Coming up, why gamers could be getting a pep talk from one of the biggest names in rap.
Homies out the joint, it's party time.
But first, Dotcom may be fighting extradition to the US, but that isn't stopping him from getting on his soapbox. The Mega Upload founder has decided to create a political party dedicated to promoting internet freedom. And what better way to kick things off than by inviting a few hundred people over to your New Zealand mansion? Sky's Chloe Culpen reports.
He's one of the most wanted people in the US. Dotcom's accused of copyright infringement on a huge scale, relating to the now closed Mega Upload file-sharing site. But despite the threat of extradition, he remains defiant.
This is a war about a technology and innovations that they don't like, and I'm being made an example.
The German-born millionaire's been on bail for 2 years, but it hasn't curbed his ambitions. He's created a new file storage company called Mega and has now formed the Internet Party to promote online freedom and privacy reform. He might be persona non grata abroad, but in New Zealand he's found plenty of support.
It's not the Mr. Dotcom personality what's important, it's the ideas he's driving.
On top of the 2012 charges, Dotcom also faces lawsuits from music labels and Hollywood studios, so he knows staying out of jail won't be easy.
The biggest problem I'm going to have in the US is that almost 90% of the media is controlled by the same parties that are suing me, that want to destroy me. So they are going to make sure that their message is the one being heard and not mine. And, I think they're going to manipulate the media in order to make sure that I will be portrayed as a villain and as a criminal.
If he loses the case, Dotcom thinks the implications could be huge, with other companies potentially facing prosecution.
If I lose, they all lose, and they all know that. Because this is a much bigger play than just me. I mean, after they're done with me, in their dream world, they're going to go after Google and YouTube and Dropbox and all these other sites and will force them to change their models.
His critics call it a vanity project, but Dotcom describes the Internet Party as New Zealand's newest, most awesome political movement. But if he's extradited, it could be a long time before he's around to enjoy the party. Chloe Culpen, Sky News.
You're watching Swipe. Coming up, a round of golf with Mario. But first, here's a roundup of anything you might have missed over the last few days. The head of one of Europe's biggest newspaper publishers has hit out at Google's dominance. In an open letter, media tycoon Axel Springer has written that many of his colleagues are too afraid to speak about how powerful the search engine has become. He also asked Google boss Eric Schmidt if he's trying to create a digital superstate that operates in a legal vacuum. Google is yet to respond. Meanwhile, Google has bought the US drone company Titan Aerospace. The tech firm wants to use the solar-powered drones to spread internet access across the developing world. The collapsed Japanese Bitcoin exchange Mt. Gox has gone into administration. Earlier this year, it lost 850,000 Bitcoins worth about $500 million after an alleged theft by hackers. Since then, 200,000 Bitcoins have been recovered, but authorities are still trying to find out what happened. Candy Crush is going to China. The mobile game's being launched by Chinese tech giant Tencent Holdings to a potential audience of 225 million users. Sales have dropped off in the US and Europe, so this could give the business a huge boost. Shares in the game's makers King fell by as much as 16% last month when the company went public. Stressed out Call of Duty fans now have the chance to get pep talks from one of the most laid-back rappers in the music business.
Rack up points by reaching the enemy portal, you dig?
Snoop Dogg has lent his voice to the Call of Duty game franchise for a Ghosts multiplayer voice pack. So if you want advice on which weapons to use or tips on strategy, Snoop's your man.
I think the writers did a good job on creating the lines for me, specifically for me. They knew my flavor, and they allowed me to, you know, do my thing and put a little Snoopism on top of it.
This summer is going to be a big one for sports fans. England head to the World Cup in Brazil, the Tour de France rolls into Yorkshire, and the Ryder Cup heads to Scotland. So we thought we'd get in the mood by asking gaming expert Guy Cocker to take a look at a few new sport releases.
So it's a World Cup year, so that means there's going to be a new FIFA-themed World Cup game. The big thing about this particular one is that it's being released on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, which is kind of weird because we've now moved on to the next generation of consoles, and it's essentially based on last year's FIFA game. So it plays really, really well. It plays a really, really good game of football. And I can't help but admit to sort of being swept up in it as I'm playing it, because you can play as England in my case and take them through to the World Cup finals. And when the World Cup finals are actually happening in a couple of months' time, there's an interesting new feature whereby whatever scenario your real team gets into in real life, an hour after that game, you'll be able to replay through that scenario. So if England win 2-0, you can replay that scenario, or if they lose, heaven forbid, you can try and fix it in the game by winning. So it's kind of a cool mechanic. If I have a problem with it, it's that the Euro 2012 game a couple of years ago was released as a downloadable add-on to that year's FIFA game, whereas this is a full price release. It's coming out pretty much just over 6 months after the last game. It feels like it's kind of it's an expensive game just for the World Cup experience, but I do admit I got swept up in it, and I'm really looking forward to the World Cup finals now. Football Manager 2014 is a really, really in-depth football simulator. It's basically, the idea behind it is you manage your team. There is a 3D match engine, but it's not like FIFA. You're the manager, so you're performing all the backroom stuff. You're training players. You're recruiting new players to your squad. And the thing about it is, if you talk to Football Manager players, they're sometimes they're like addicts. They get addicted to this game. So, because it's so in depth, this is the first time that it's come to Vita. The game itself on Vita works really well. It's got touchscreen controls, which I think is really, really nice. It's the best version of this game, the best portable version of the game, at least. It's not for everyone. It's because it does look like an Excel spreadsheet when you look at it. But if you're a football fan, there's no other Football Manager game that really offers this level of depth. And I really got back into the game and played it on PC through having it on the go. So if you're an addict or a past addict like me, then watch out. But it's a very, very good game. If you're a fan of Nintendo sports games, it can feel like they release so many of them. There's Mario Tennis, Mario Golf, there's so many of them on so many different platforms, but there's actually not been a Mario Golf on a handheld since the Game Boy Advance, which was quite a long time ago. So Mario Golf is actually quite a deep and rewarding golf game. If you want it to be, you can set the difficulty quite high, have a complex input, and obviously choose your golf clubs and all the rest of it. But it's got that Mario spin on it, so you collect coins in the air, you can get Mario power-ups, those power-up blocks. The big thing about this game is, because it's on 3DS, you can play, and the World Tour, as it suggests, you can play online, so you can play online with your friends. It's not doing anything that we haven't seen before, but it's a more accessible golf game if the likes of Tiger Woods are a bit scary for you. Trials has been a really big success story for a small indie developer. There have been a couple of games in this series. Started out as a flash game online, a very basic flash game, made it on Xbox 360, and now it's a multi-platform title, and this one is on next-gen consoles. I've been playing it on the PlayStation 4. You have a side-on view, and you control a motorbike rider, and he's on a bike, and the kind of the gameplay loop, the really addictive thing about it is the physics are very, very realistic. So you're trying to balance this bike up hills and perform all these stunts, and it's just very, very addictive, and it gets very, very hard. The tracks are really, really fiendish. Now, the big thing for this version of the game, like I said, there have been 2 previous versions, is this futuristic setting. It looks absolutely gorgeous on next-gen consoles. The only problem that I have, and I love the Trials games, I absolutely love them, is that maybe as a fan, I'd expect something a bit more at this stage. There's been a couple of games previously, and it's a cliche to say it. You know, if you like Trials, you will get something out of it, but it's maybe starting to feel like they're milking the formula a little bit at this point in time.
That's it for this week. Remember, you can catch up with the breaking tech stories all week on Sky News for iPad, our smartphone apps, and skynews.com. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.